um start to the snap, I think.
Good. Back to the snap. Are we live?
We are live. You can go whenever you
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm sitting here having a chill day. Okay, people, that beautiful live podcast, very much welcome to episode 155. This is Roger Bergström all the way from, the quite beautiful Stockholm, Sweden, with some more snow eventually. And I just hope that you've had a good time when it comes to the holiday season, if you are celebrating. And we're going to talk a bit here again about all the beautiful life stuff that happens. Well, there's stuff that happens also maybe that's out of that concept, but we're getting to that. But anywho, how are you? How are you, dear friend, Caduce Campbell? How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
It's been a good old holiday season, I think. Not the best, I would say, because of the fact that I've been sick, and I know you have as well. So not the best with regards to being sick.
No. Yeah.
But it was fine. Like it wasn't bad or anything like that. It wasn't like I was like the worst holiday or anything like that. I just got sick and had to deal with being sick and all that kind of stuff. And I think what was the hardest was when Xavi got sick and he had to go to the hospital. I think that was the toughest, because it meant that for us, all of our Christmas plans were pretty much put on hold because, well, he's sick, he's in the hospital and all that kind of stuff. So everything that we had planned for the Christmas was just out of the door,
What may I ask you? Because I mean, we haven't talked for a while. It's important to say that now when we're live and everything, and also recording the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So we aren't that up to date. and I mean, So what were your initial plans? Were you about to go somewhere else? Or?
Well, no, we have I guess you could call it a Christmas tradition of sorts where, we cook food, so Alex will make her her Polish stuff, so she has like particular Polish dishes like she likes making because, it's Polish tradition and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And then I've got my stuff that I like making, my Trini stuff. So I like making some sorrel, some what do you call this thing? Some pastel, which I failed at making last year, and my plan was to make it this year. So essentially, the plan was to do that, and then leading up to Christmas, I got sick. Alex got sick. We all had fever and high temperature and all that kind of stuff. And then Ty got sick, and Xavi got sick. And then once Xavi got sick, he took it the worst, because, and I think with Xavi, it's not necessarily that he got a worse sickness than the rest of us. His hygiene is so poor. And I have to be honest, his hygiene is so poor. He got it the worst because of his poor hygiene. I don't think he got more sick than the rest of us because he got something worse. Like he picked up a different bug that was worse than... No. I think it's because of his hygiene, because while we were both sick, I would come downstairs to go use the toilet or whatever have you. And again, I had muscle pains and all this sort of stuff. And I would see him like sitting there in the kitchen or something, just coughing. And then he'd like use the toilet or whatever have you. And he would see him not wash his hands, and he'd just come out and he'd be like, "What are you doing, mate? Like, no, wash your hands. Like no." And he'd be rubbing his eyes and all that kind of stuff. And so in the end, I was just like, when he did get his eye got swollen and all that kind of stuff, he got infected. Once that happened, I wasn't surprised. Like, I was concerned, but I wasn't surprised. I was like, yeah, he's a bit of a not so clean person when it comes to his hygiene. And I guess, I was talking to a friend about it the other day, and, it's like when we were kids, we all kind of had, to a certain extent, I want to say, to a certain extent, some things weren't as priority. I mean, I like to think my hygiene was always, for the most part, good enough. But maybe my memories just glossed over some stuff. Maybe my mom had to remind me about a few things. Who knows? But yeah, it was, he got it really bad. But in the end, they got back home on Christmas Eve late in the night. And then Alex she's very, what's the word for it? She's very rigid in the way in which she likes things. So for example, she has to have Christmas the exact same thing. She has to have all the Polish stuff and all that kind of stuff, because I remember her calling me from the hospital, and asking me if I could go to the polo shop to pick up some things. And I'm like,
okay.
I'm in pain. I can't even go in. Like I can't.
No.
I barely could move because even when we while they were in the hospital, you know, she called me and asked me if I could come and drop off some clothes for her and Zavi, and I walked at first because I was like, there's no way I can get on my bike. So I walked to the hospital and back with Ty. And I kid you not, right? Because the hospital is not too far from where we live. But I kid you not, bro. That walk was the most arduous walk I've had in ages. Like it felt like I was dragging my body to go. And there were moments where I was just thinking to myself, like, I don't feel like I could keep going. And but the only thing I'm thinking about in that moment is like, what's gonna happen if I fall along here? What's gonna happen to Ty? Like he's you know, he's a toddler. Like, you know, what's gonna happen to him if I just drop down on the side of the road or whatever have you? And so I just kept going. You know, I just kept, you know, dragging myself along, and you know, just sort of like hoping that I could make it to and fro. You know. And when I got to the hospital, I was a bit annoyed at Alex because when I got to the hospital, she wasn't where I thought she was gonna be. So there I was wandering around the hospital trying to find her, and that annoyed me. Granted, they had their own thing going on in the hospital with regards to like tests and all that kind of stuff. So they were moving around. But when I got there, I'm trying to ring her and I can't get her, and I'm like, bloody hell. And I'm like, I don't want to go in the hospital because I don't want to get anything worse, and I don't want Ty to pick up anything. So I had to go and get face masks and fit one to his face and fit one to my face, and alcohol gel on our hands and make sure Ty doesn't touch anything. And it was it was a lot. But in the end, I just couldn't do much, you know. And then I had to go a second time to drop off stuff for them again. And the second time I went, I couldn't even cycle. Like I said, you know what, I'm going to get on the bike and I'm going to cycle to the hospital. And I could barely make it up a slight incline that I'm accustomed doing with ease, you know. And it was just so hard. I was huffing and puffing, just trying to get by while my muscles were in pain and all that kind of stuff. So,
oh wow!
Essentially, in the end, I made it through it. I survived, and then just basically went to the Ty and I got our we got better. You know, so at home, you know, we just sort of had to take antibiotics and. You know, I just had to make sure that he was doing the right things and, you know, taking care of his hygiene, which is one of the things I don't worry too much about Ty. He is very good with regards to his hygiene. Like, he takes care of a lot of things. Like, he washed his hands. He himself reminds me, like, if he sees me in the kitchen and I touch something, I don't wash my hands, he'll remind me. He'd be like, Daddy, you didn't wash your hands, you know? And then I'm like, oh, crap, let me wash my hands then, you know? So his hygiene is pretty much, for the most part, top notch. He does, you know, do some weird things sometimes because he is a toddler. He's only 4 years old, so he's gonna do weird stuff. But for the most part, he does a relatively good job with regards to maintaining good hygiene. And for that, I'm pretty proud of him for that. I think he's.
But I remember, you know, see, this is where we, just before Christmas. When I called you and because I thought, well, maybe we do the last episode here before Christmas. And then at that point you were really sick, you know. And at that point also exactly you described that, that Alex was with Savi at the hospital, and then you sent the picture of him and everything, and you know, all that stuff, you know. And that's where we also later, you know, on the 23rd we drove down to my wife's parents. So so I guess there you go. But were you able to were you able to like get the things together in order to like get
the Christmas stuff? So well, for me, honestly, I didn't care. With regards to Christmas, like for me, it was like all I'm concerned about is us getting better. So I was mainly about like let us all get some rest. Let's not overdo anything. You know, their presents there for the boys. They're gonna be fine once they see some presents there. They're gonna be like, oh great, I've got Christmas. And for Alex and I and pretty much everyone else, I was just thinking like, let's just take it easy. Let's not do anything that's too hard on us, and just take it easy for that period of time because of the fact that we're sick. You know, we're not our best selves. And I was thinking like, let's take it easy. With regards to Alex, it's not that simple. For her, it's like, I have to do Christmas the Polish way, the right way, the way that I'm accustomed. So for her, just being able to say like no, I'm gonna rest was not an option. She was sick, but still was like, no, I have to go to the Polish shop and get these ingredients, and I have to stay up and cook, and I have to do these things. And so it was like, I can't relate to that because, and again, it just comes down to how individuals are. Like, I've got my own sort of things where I'm sort of rigid on it. Similar, I have a thing with regards to books being on a shelf and not being in line with each other. It bothers me to no end. And Alex doesn't get it. No one else gets it. That's just me. So I could be understanding of that aspect of her, but I'm not participating. That's basically my mindset of it. It's like, I understand that this is your OCD, this is your thing. You have to do these things because it matters that much to you. But that being said, in the same light, I'm not like killing myself to fulfill a Christmas tradition if my body is just not there. So essentially that's what I just rested, which obviously meant that she was upset with me.
Oh yeah.
So she's like, "Oh, you're not doing anything for Christmas, and we got to do these things." And I was just like, "Look, I'm just not. My body's not there. I'm hurting everywhere. I am not killing myself to make sure to fit a mold for Christmas. It's just not happening." So yeah, but in the end, we had a decent Christmas. I got some pretty cool presents. I think pretty much everyone else in the house did as well. I got a Pixel watch and some cycling stuff, like some cycling clothes and some gels for when I'm cycling. So essentially, that was basically it for the boys. They got Ty had a few toys. Savvy got some stuff for his computer and stuff like that. Alex got some skincare products. Generally things that we each kind of fancied for the holidays. So with regards to the whole gifts and all that kind of stuff, it was good. It was fine. Christmas was fine with that. The food was good as well. The only thing is I didn't eat a lot of the food that Alex made because I was that sick that I thought to myself like, hey, I'm not going to be able to eat these sort of things because it's greasy and oily and fried and all that kind of stuff. And so
and also the appetite overall. I mean, I when I was like that after Christmas, I didn't eat much. Just small portions and soup and small dishes. It was we're getting to that soon, but it's it is a thing. It is a thing. I think there's a lot of people, especially this time around, like around Christmas and everything. I've heard other people here as well getting sick, So it's definitely something that has been quite, as you said, contagious. People are getting it, and it's because as I told you, I mean, we did the trip. We celebrate sometimes Christmas down by my wife's parent in the south part of Sweden. It's about a 5-6 hour ride, and we went there on the 23rd. So we had decided we would be there until the 27th, because then I needed to go back up to Stockholm, to pick up my mom. She celebrated Christmas with my sister in a city not too far from Stockholm. But anyway, and as I told you before we started to record, what I didn't know, or Annalie didn't know, is that my parents-in-law, they weren't well. They already had this to a certain degree, especially my father-in-law. He was lying resting, and I remember I thought, okay, well, this is not so good, and we were expecting also, there's a tradition there, for example, there's like Annalie's cousin and his former wife and his son comes there. Very nice, always nice to meet them. We've known them for years now. On like Christmas Eve and everything, they sleep over as well. And of course, Annalie's brother and his daughter.
Good question though, before you continue with that. How does that work exactly? You said her cousin and his former wife, they sleep there. Yeah. How does it work with you sleeping in the same place with your former wife? Like, what exactly does...
I have no idea. I've been thinking about that too. But I mean, apparently they have separate rooms and everything. But
okay.
but it's I don't know. It's interesting.
That
It's
is
interesting
interesting.
that they still choose to also it's a strong tradition. I think it has to do also with the fact that like Alice's cousin. I mean, he doesn't have really. I mean, he's older than me, and I mean
Hmm.
his mom and dad, meaning my my wife's mom's sister, that is, of
Hmm.
course, died quite a few years ago, and she was a part of that Christmas tradition as well. But I mean, they're gone, and yeah,
Hmm.
so I mean, this is like what they do.
Hmm.
But it's interesting. I definitely agree with you. But they seem to come along well. I mean, it is nothing. I can't find a disturbance in the force, if I put it like that.
Hmm.
So it seems to work well. But I mean, we had a good time. As I told you, Adam got sick first. A
Hmm.
bit different though than the rest of us later on. So I think he had something going already before that, because there were also people that were ill, like also became ill, that he works together with, like the studio and everything.
Hmm.
So he started when it comes to us, and then when we went home on the 27th, Isaac got fever. And I felt sorry for him, especially since I later got the same and know how, as you described, also the muscle pain, the soreness, everything. And he was sitting in a car for like 5, 6 hours. Poor dude. Not fun. But we came home. We picked up mom, and I was still feeling quite okay. I mean, I felt some a bit in my throat like a few days before, but I told myself, okay, I gonna fix it this time around. I usually don't get sick, so it's fine. But then that
Hmm.
same night, oh my God, I started to freeze first. I got some almost cramps, and then
That's when
I
it
really,
comes on.
yeah, it comes on, and I got, the high temperature, and had weird dreams, really strange dreams. And so the
I have
days
to
to
wonder if I
follow,
had. I have to wonder if I had similarly. If I had strange dreams, I can't remember. But that sounds familiar somehow. But yeah,
yeah,
continue.
I had this sequence, like first night, it was this sequence of me firing a gun
Really?
like over and over again, maybe 12, 14 times in a row in different locations. Yeah, it's super weird. Like short,
That is
like
pretty
bam,
weird.
bam, bam, bam. But I was different places, and then I fell asleep again, and then the same dream came back,
Hmm.
and
I
then
mean,
I
it.
had a dream.
It.
Sorry, the
Hmm.
night after, where
Hmm.
I was dreaming that I was trying to play a campaign in a video game. I think it was the old Killzone 3 for PlayStation 3.
Hmm.
But I was like, I was kind of stuck. I didn't get anywhere, and that was also a sequence that repeated itself maybe 5, 6 times in like. The brain starts to do weird things when you become that, not feeling that well.
It kind of makes sense though, because I mean, you do play a lot of first person shooter games, so
Sure, yeah,
in
but
that sense, a dream about shooting a gun, and like for someone who plays a high amount of first person shooters, kind of makes sense, especially given the fact the game you're going to talk about today is a very realistic sort of like first person shooter. So so maybe maybe not worry
yeah.
too much about the dream. It was
No,
just.
no, no. It was just, I thought about it when I was having my fever there. What is happening? That kind of repetitive thing. It's like, I don't know, very
Mhm.
strange. But even so, it is what it is. So yeah, I got ill, and I was just worried that my mom would get sick too. And of course, as you said, talking about plans, we just had to, yeah, because Anneli started to get like cough. She started to cough as well, and
Mhm.
we just had to take it slow.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
mean, I wanted to do things with my mom when she was here, like go to Christmas market and whatever have you. But it was like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get out. I couldn't get out. I had to rest. I mean,
Hmm.
I was up. We were talking. We were drinking coffee, and of course, trying to eat some good food and everything. But that's also the thing. I really didn't have an appetite. I
Hmm.
ate just because I know you gotta eat. You
Hmm.
gotta try to get better, getting some energy. But I didn't really have an
Didn't have the
appetite.
strength. Yeah,
No,
I
no, it's
understand.
and I mean as now, yeah, I don't know. It's I'm still coughing, and
Hmm.
it's a lot of, uh, you know, At least it's good that things are coming up like the mucus. I can spit out shit and everything, and I just hope it's gonna end because I'm sick and tired of it. Especially
Hmm.
also tonight, I woke up and started coughing and things like that. So yeah,
That was, I think that for me, that was the worst part of it was, the phlegm, because for
yeah,
me,
yeah,
like
phlegm. That's
similar
the
to
right
you,
word.
I could bring up the mucus and the phlegm and spit it out. Ty couldn't, so I could hear him coughing, and you can hear when there's a lot of phlegm stuck in his
Yeah.
throat, and he can't bring it up. So
Mm.
he's there just struggling. That really was the worst part for me, because remember,
Yeah.
Alex and Zavi were in the hospital for like a week, just the two of them, and Ty and I were home for a week, just the two of us.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so all day I'm here, I'm trying to get some rest, and trying to make sure he gets some rest. But you know what kids are like? They get sick and they don't. That doesn't bother them. They're like, I still want to play. I still want to watch telly.
Yeah.
I still want to do all this sort of stuff. So I could hear him coughing, and I can hear he just can't bring it up. But granted, I want to say he was such a trooper, and he was so capable. Oh, he is so capable that even though I was sick and he was sick, I didn't worry too much, because of the fact that he pretty much can handle his own sort of things. So, for example, he got up one morning, woke before me, and there I am in bed, sleeping, because I'm completely, physically destroyed by this flu and fever. And he got up, and he was hungry, and it was breakfast time, and he knew his schedule, so he got up, he went downstairs, made himself some porridge, ate it, and then came back upstairs. Washed his hands, brushed his teeth, came back upstairs, put on a documentary, watched the documentary, and then came to my room, woke me up. He was standing over me there, and I was like, "Hey, Daddy, can I go play?" I watched my documentary, I had my breakfast and everything. And I was just like, wow, like, the fact that I didn't have to do those things with him, like I didn't have to, get up and take care of those stuff for him, that he can take care of it himself, was just, it meant that I was able to get a bit more rest, because it was like, thank you.
Yeah.
you know. Granted, as the day went on, when lunchtime came around, I have to make his lunch, obviously, and prepare it for him, and dinner and all that kind of stuff. And so obviously I had to get up as the day went on, but I dragged myself somehow. And
Mm.
in the end, I want to say not too bad, because, like, for example, leading into New Year's, we did have a good New Year's, because we went over to my brother's, and we spent time with family, and just sort of like just hung out. The kids played, and we just chatted, and Lex and Alex had Baileys, and I basically drank sorrel all night, because I wasn't really feeling like drinking alcohol because of the phlegm and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I don't really think that's good. So yeah, because Lex actually got a bottle of wine for me. He's like, "Oh, I've got wine for you guys,"
Okay.
and I was
Okay.
like, "Yeah, I'm not really drinking anything."
Mm.
So he sort of like put it aside. But we had a good night. It was, at the end of the day, I want to say the holidays didn't go according to plan. But at the same time, I think what is the most valuable to me in the end is we did get to spend some time, with family. Everyone was well in the end. It was bad at first, but we were all well in the end. And I think for that, I take a little bit of solace in that. I'm like, that's what I appreciate. I appreciate we did have
Yeah.
a generally relatively fine holiday.
Mm.
Especially considering that some people in other countries are not having, they're not even able to get some rest or anything like that, or
No.
even in other cases, they're in countries where there's war or other things going on that is
Mm.
preventing them from actually being able to enjoy a time like the holidays that we would
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
had. So just those little things in my mind are just like, yeah, our holiday was fine.
Yeah. No, but I think yeah, that's good. Good to hear. I mean, we were still ill like over New Year's Eve since we got it later. So we had to play it quite slow here, but we managed to have like a good dinner and everything. Took our time to make some good food, and since again mom was here, so we had a pretty good New Year's Eve. Even so, pretty slow and everything, but it was nice. And I think I've said it before. In this neighborhood, it's always some crazy fireworks,
Mhm.
so it's always something nice to watch there around 12 when the new year arrives.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there you go. That's
That's the
as you said.
holidays.
Yeah, that's the holidays. It's interesting. I mean, yeah, I did not. I was not expecting it to become like this.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I wish that it would have been different. But on
Mm-hmm.
the other hand, at the same time, as you said, at least I'm also happy that mom took the decision to come down, because I mean, she wasn't really sure she would do that initially.
Mm-hmm.
But she did, so she was able to meet both. Well, apparently, as told earlier,
Mm-hmm.
my sister first, and then also me and my family. So,
Mm-hmm.
so that's nice, because nowadays, since she lives in the north of Sweden and everything, we don't meet that often. So it's good with those moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
Mm.
because even like for me, like I think about the fact that this holidays I didn't even see my mom, like outside of like a phone call.
Yeah, right.
And I haven't seen her for like 2 years now. It's kind of
Yep,
like I was thinking
it's a
about like,
long
oh,
time.
I haven't seen her in ages. You know, at least I saw my
No,
sisters this year because they did it. Well, last year because they came for a visit, but I haven't seen my
exactly.
mom for like 2 years now, and it is a bit uncomfortable for me because I am accustomed to at least seeing her once per year, at least, you know, and not seeing her has been a bit on my mental state, you know, like it has
Yeah.
bothered me, I guess.
Mm.
So I'm happy that you were able to at least see your mom and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff, you know, this, you know, given the circumstances and everything like that was fine. You know, so
definitely.
that being said,
Yeah.
let's jump on to gaming stuff. And let's talk about what we've been playing this fine holiday time. So for me, I'll start it off first. I've been playing this game called Marvel's Midnight Suns on the
Oh, okay.
PC, which I did not expect to be playing this game because when I initially saw the trailers for it and everything like that, I was not impressed. Like I saw the trailers for this game and I was like, this game looks like crap, right?
Oh,
It looks visually like poo, and I was like, I'm not having it, right? And especially like I was looking at it, it's made by 2K Games, and I was looking at the cost of it, and I was just like, it's not gonna be worth that price. It is worth the price of 60 quid though. I after playing it, so I got a review copy from 2K Games, which I was surprised about. I've never gotten a review copy from them before. But yeah, I was surprised about that. But I got a review copy for the game and I played it. And initially I was not looking forward to it because I do like tactical RPGs, which is what this game is. But
yeah.
I didn't really get the whole thing about the whole card system because it's got a card system in play. I didn't really fancy it, didn't really get it until I actually started playing it. It's one of those games where you have to play it first to fully get what it's like, what's the loop about it, like what makes it good. And once I played it, I was like, holy crap, this is addictively good, like really, really nice. So the game is available on PS5, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and of course on the PC, which is where I played it. Developed by Fair Access Games, who are the guys behind XCOM, and I think they did Civilization as well. So they know their strategy games essentially. And essentially the whole story of this game is that you have all these Marvel characters who, you know, the ones that you'd consider from the darker comic books from Marvel, you know, like your Blade and Morbius and that kind of stuff. They all come together essentially to fight this character. What's her name again? I think her name is bloody hell, can't remember her name. She's a bad girl. She's the evil this evil witch character who, you know, made some deal with some demons and all that kind of stuff to try to save her family and so forth. And you play as her son, right? So you're playing as her son who essentially is out to like stop his mother and so forth. He stopped her in the past, and then, you know, she came back. She came back like, oh, her name is Lilith. I just saw it in the blurb. But anyway, the point is that you have to stop her, and you have to team up with some of the Avengers and some of these Midnight characters. You know, like your Blades and your Ghost Riders and so forth. And it was good. It's a good game. Like I haven't finished it yet. I've put an insane amount of time into the game already, as it is. But I have yet to finish it. And I have to say, really good game. Really like the game. Currently, right now, it's on sale 33% off. So at the time of this live, you could get this up until the 16th of January for 33% off, which I think is a huge deal. I think if you're going to get it, get the deluxe edition. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be a bit more than the standard edition, but the deluxe edition does include a couple more characters and stuff like that on outfits. So I would say go with that version. The legendary edition obviously is the one that has everything in it, but unfortunately, at 60 quid, I'm not spending 60 quid on no bloody game. Like, no, at least not right now. I've even been tempted to get a DLC because I got the game for free, but the DLC itself alone, which is the season pass, is 40 quid. I'm like, why is it so bloody expensive? Why are you selling DLC for 40 quid? I'm not paying that, like, at the very best, do 20 for a season pass, not 40. That's a whole game right there.
Yeah.
Right? Because the base game is about 49 if you consider it, and on sale right now, the base game is actually cheaper than the season pass, which makes no sense at all. The game does have some kind of microtransaction-y thing inside of there, where you buy these credits and you can use them to buy outfits and stuff like that. I have not been dabbling with that because, as you know, I am not a fan of that kind of crap. But yeah, it's a good game. Rating Peggy 12. It's got some violence, bad language, and of course, as I mentioned, the in-game purchases. That's what gave it the rating. Came out on December the 2nd, 2 days before my birthday. And system requirements for PC. I've been running this on my PC and it's been handling it, except when I put on ray tracing. My PC chugs when I put on ray tracing. Not bad chug, but it chugs enough that I turn off the ray tracing. But I can run this on Epic settings on my PC at 1440p, which is actually pretty good. And the specs that they're recommending is, for recommended specs, you're looking at an AMD Ryzen 5 2600X, which I think is Xavi's processor. I think that's the processor he has on his PC. And or an Intel i7 6700, 16 gigs of RAM. I think I have 16 gigs of RAM, I think. And of course, graphics being, a GTX 1070 or a Radeon RX 5700, which is the specs that they recommend. 60 gigs of storage space, and of course, DirectX 12 on the game. So pretty good game. Highly recommended. Right now on Steam, it is sitting at a mostly positive, and I can concur with that. I can say it is mostly positive. It's a good game, and I can back that up. So, yeah, highly recommended by me. Go check out Marvel's Midnight Suns. It is totally worth it. Raj, you've been playing a game that is similarly, I want to say, because with Marvel's Midnight Sun, this is up my alley. This is essentially my type of game. So similarly, the game you've been playing is your type of game.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely in the FPS genre for sure. Yeah, we're talking about Enlisted, which is a game I played before. It's a free-to-play World War II military shooter, and I mentioned it before, and it's out there. It's let me see now. It runs on the same engine as War Thunder, but it's published by Gaijin. It's not actually. It's
developed by a studio called Sergei Kolgunov. I think that's
okay. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's the designer. The developer is Dark Flow Software. Sorry.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
that's the developer.
That makes sense for me as well.
Because I was thinking, that sounds like a name.
Yeah, exactly. I was also, wait a second, could that be true? But I came back to this game. I made a video about it again, since I like to go back and play some games I've played before. And as mentioned earlier, the fun part here is that you are in control of some AIs as your squad, and you can tell them to defend the objective and so forth. And it kind of creates a different, or a special kind of dynamic in the game. It's quite like casual, I would say, at least compared to other more hardcore shooters in the same era out there. For example, Hell Let Loose and games like that. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. Definitely not. It's actually quite entertaining game. There was a new campaign, the Pacific campaign, that I hadn't played. So you're fighting in the Pacifics. And either as the Axis forces or of course the Allied forces. So you're either on the Japanese side or the US in this case. So yeah, it was good to get back. However, it was a bit interesting to see that there's still problem, I think, to a certain degree with the matchmaking, because sometimes you get into matches and you can see like half of the other team are high ranked players, that have played a lot and have therefore also unlocked most of the things in the game. And I feel that that's a bit unfair, to be honest. I do believe also I encountered a cheater or two. I'm not 100% because the freaking kill cam is quite wonky, so it's a bit hard to tell sometimes when you take a look at how you died like afterwards. But I think that's I know that I didn't really encounter any cheaters like a year ago when I was playing. I was playing the Berlin campaign, for example, which is one of my favorites. So I'm not sure if something has changed like during the past year when I have been away from the game. Not 100% about that situation. But even so, the game is definitely it's worth playing if you want something similar, that kind of era again in the history and the fighting and everything. I mean, you can also drive tanks or fly. I tend to play infantry. That's my thing.
You want to get headshots, just admit it.
Yes, exactly. Of course. Yeah, it's true. It's definitely, that's more me. Yeah, it takes some time to also, even though it might not be, I mean, again, War Thunder, I'm not sure if you ever tried that game. It's about flying for sure, most of it at least, even though, yeah, so I never really spent time with that. But I guess people that are, become really good at it and good at flying too. I've seen some good pilots also in this game. So I guess maybe they played War Thunder as well, and then it's quite easy for them to kind of grasp the how it works also in Enlisted if you choose to fly. But even so, yeah, that's basically it. I also want to mention, I forgot to tell you, but there's a game. There was a game that was gifted to me, and it's a horror game that I didn't know about, but it was released in 2019, and it's called Song of Horror. It's an indie horror game, and it's actually 60% off right now on Steam when it comes to a complete edition of the game. And I've started to play it, and it's a good game. It's hard. This is quite hard game. It doesn't hold your hand. You really need to find out where to go, what to do next, and some of the puzzles aren't that easy. So you if you're gonna play a game like this, you really need some patience. So far it has been, I've been doing well, but I did one mistake that was, to a certain degree, it was a risk I was willing to take because I wanted to see what would happen. And when I say that, it's when you're walking around in this house and you're trying to find out what happened to a guy that disappeared in there, then you have the ability to listen through the doors once in a while. And you really should do that because sometimes it's something behind the door and you don't want to go in there. And I came to a point I was a bit stuck too, and I felt, well, why not see what happens? So I just went into the room, and of course my character got killed. So it's a permadeath also, which means that then you have to choose one of the other, how do you say, characters within the game to come back to the house and continue where the other person apparently then where she in this case died, pick up the things, her inventory, and the search continues, so to speak. Cool game, I have to say. It's yeah, it was some time ago since I played a game like this. Developed by Protocol Games and published by Razer Games. So again, it's indie.
Not something I've heard of, but something I could probably look into at some point if I did feel the need to partake in such things. I did actually get an indie as well for Christmas from Tim, and I haven't played it yet. I don't even know if I used the code because he sent me a code and he was like, "Try it and let me know if it works." And I don't know if I tried the code yet. It's sort of like an indie platformer game. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. But yeah, if I haven't used the code yet, and Tim hears this, Tim, I'm sorry, I forgot. But yeah, it was some kind of indie game on Steam that Tim really really liked. It looked cool. Very classic. But yeah, I've been mainly playing Midnight Sun, so that's what my attention has been.
Yeah.
But that being said, what have you been watching, Raj? You've been watching some stuff as well, haven't you?
Oh yes. It's been a bit little of this and that. Actually, I could go on and mention some movies and everything as well. But I picked a series on Netflix, which is called Sweet Home. And I have mentioned before that me and Isaac have been watching some Korean or South Korean both movies and series recently, and many of them have been very good. And this is not an exception. It's also a good series. This is it's called Sweet Home. It has a 7.3 on IMDb, and it's about Hyun, a loner high school student, and he loses his entire family in a terrible accident. So he's forced to leave his home and to face a new reality where monsters are trying to wipe out all of humanity. So he must fight against all odds to try and race against the clock to save what is left of the human race before it's too late. That sounds very shallow when I read it, but the good thing here is that it has to do with what I do like is that they get, without spoiling, they get stuck in this building where they live, because getting out, it's more or less, it's you're gonna die more or less. But of course also people have turned in there, and there are monsters, and the monsters are, it's from the worst nightmares. It's like different, they have different abilities, and they're really, it's like one is like a human spider, and it's really weird. But it's done in a really good way. And you get to know the characters, like which is a mix of people, like students, older people, the lone wolf. You have everyone there, that are just trying to survive, but they're running out of supplies, and they start to figure out, or need to figure out how to continue to survive if they need to leave the place. And it's really cool actually, and there's some really how do you say, some good action and chases, when it comes to the monsters and these survivors. So Sweet Home from 2020.
Definitely, I will have to look into that one. I'm actually really keen on this. It's a 7.3, as you said, and you are right. Those Korean stuff on Netflix has been hitting really, really hard. So
yes,
I do look forward to watching this one with the family. With regards to me, I ended up watching Jumanji. I watched that's what I ended up watching. I went for Jumanji. I think it's Enter the Dungeon is the first one. And I'm talking about the new Jumanji movies, not the old ones. And so I watched the first one with The Rock and Kevin Hart and Welcome to the Jungle, with Karen Gillian and Nick Jonas and Jack Black and so forth. And it was great. I loved it. I had a good time. It's a 6.9 IMDb. I'd actually give it someone close to like a 9. It is good. It is hilarious. I think my favorite character was Jack Black, because he was supposed to be a teenage girl inside Jack Black's body, like as an avatar. And it was hilarious when she, like the scene where she's like, "Oh, wow, Ween is amazing," like it was so, like, I enjoyed that whole thing. And then the second movie, at first I wasn't sure if I was enjoying the second movie, because which is Jumanji Next Level. I wasn't too sure if I was enjoying it, but the more I watched, the more I liked it. The more I was like, I'm getting into this, because at first I wasn't too keen on the grandfather played by Danny DeVito. I wasn't really feeling Danny DeVito in the second film. And similarly, I wasn't feeling his best friend. I'm trying to remember the guy who played him. I think it was Danny Glover. I wasn't feeling Danny Glover as well. So those two characters weren't really resonating the best with me, but more so Danny DeVito, because he was so loud and shouty and aggressive, and it just felt not so cool. But again, similar to the first one, as it went on, I with this one, I just started to feel like enjoy it more, especially as they started to bring in more of the characters. So Madison Eisman, I think is how you say her name. She was in the first one, and I was really like, she wasn't really that present in the second one at the beginning, and that was really bothering me. But then they find a way to work her back in, and it is hilarious and enjoyable. And, it's a good film. So I want to say Jumanji, The Next Level, great show. I highly recommend the two movies. And it's a must watch for me. Rog, there's a thing we do right about now. What's that thing called?
Shout out for your podcast.
Oh, shout out for your podcast. We have no podcast. I haven't been listening to anything this holiday. We have literally no shout out this week, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it. We'll have one next week. I will be listening to some stuff. I've actually got some stuff loaded up on my podcast app ready to go. But because I have not been going anywhere or doing anything, I have not, outside of playing, Marvel's Midnight Sun, I have not been, listening to the podcast. So I will catch up on that. But with that being said, how about we say goodbye? I need to get going because I have to get something done really, really quickly, which we'll talk about after. But how about we get going?
We will. Yeah, the day continues. I hope you guys enjoyed, and Happy New Year and everything. I hope you're going to get a good 2023. At least we have a start here. So with that said, stay healthy, my friends. Don't get the flu, whatever you do. And we talk soon again. Muffin and out.
Beautiful as always. I love that that little rhyme there. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this episode of That Beautiful Life, guys. You can find Rog pretty much everywhere at 40 Split Splash, pretty much everywhere. He streams on a Tuesday, Wednesday, and on a Sunday. That's correct?
Correct.
Perfect. You can find me at LP Gardens, Garden Daughter, you pretty much everywhere else. I stream on a Monday and a Thursday. I'll be streaming tonight, actually. So with that, guys, thank you very much for listening to this episode of That Beautiful Life podcast. Many beautiful people like subscribe to this podcast on Castbox, Acast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and elsewhere. And simplybinge.com and elsewhere. And what's the company going to like it that we're giving it for free? So as always, guys, this has been Queued for your pleasure. That's all right.